Namaste and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sathology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Sathology means a science or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology. Myth means a lie, fake, or imagination in Sanskrit language. And mythology means a study of lie, fake, or imagination. English has no words on its own. It's a borrowed language from Latin and from other countries like India, especially. Many things like roti and these are all the English words now. So anyway, today we have a very, very interesting topic and it gives you some hint and we'll go straight to healthcare. Healthcare was also an imported topic in the Western world. Just to let you know, Western world has done changes or modifications, but not created anything on their own, including the rocket sciences. And we'll focus on healthcare today. So we have very famous writer and also a opinion creator and also the fact-based knowledge system in India, Sri Prashant Pol. So without delay, let us welcome him. Namaste, Prashantji.
Namaskar.
So, Prashantji, so even the healthcare when we see, so India has given Shushruta Samhita, Ayurveda, and different aspects of healthcare, including vaccination. And I recently heard there was a Nadi Yantra also being sold in India, which is to calculate the heartbeat and is far more accurate than stethoscopes. So, before we start off, what is the history of Indian healthcare?
Good point. Okay. When the Westerns have come to India, they thought that Indians are illiterate. They do not have any legacy. They do not have any earlier knowledge and all. But however, when we see the Indian knowledge system, we found that India was the first country in the world who had taught the medicine when the world didn't know the word medicine itself. Around 2700 years ago, that is around 700 years before the Christ, India had a university. It's supposed to be the first university in the world, that is Takshashila, which is nowadays in Pakistan. In this Takshashila, there was a subject called medicine, and this subject was very well structured, complete syllabus, and entire system was there. And today, whatever topics which we consider, which we taught, that is uh, pharmacology and some other topics in the medical sciences. So all such topics were taught in the courses, and various students got graduated. There used to be a graduate ceremony every year, and they used to get graduated from that Takshashila University, and then they strengthen the already establish a proper healthcare system in India. And Indian healthcare system was not centralized; it was decentralized. And at the village level, the complete healthcare management was basically structured in the earlier days. Even the Kautilya, Chanakya, who was a student of Takshila University, he wrote in his book called Arthashastra. He he is talking in this book about the healthcare of animals as well. So Indians were not only talking about the healthcare of the human being, they were also talking, or they also did a system for the animals. So there were complete veterinary science, veterinary healthcare mechanism was available in India. Empire Ashok built a lot of hospitals. I repeat, a lot of hospitals in the entire his entire empire. And along with the hospitals for the human beings, there were the clinics or the hospitals for the animals also. We call it as a veterinary hospital sort of. And that's why when this Veterinary Council of India was trying to finalize its logo, this Veterinary Council of India selected the symbol of bull and the inscription, that is Shila Lake, we used to call it, inscription during the Ashoka days, that how the animal healthcare is also important for the society. My point here is that the Indian, ancient Indian healthcare system was a complete structured ecosystem for human being as well as for animals. And Sushruta, Charak Samhita book is more than 2000 years old. Sushruta, again, more than 2500 years old. So all these books, all this syllabus can tell us that we had a complete structured healthcare system which was there in India, and which was capable of handling various diseases, which include the pandemic diseases as well, and that's very important.
Oh, very good point. See, the common sense also plays a very important role. Before when we have Praman, Pratyaksha Praman, Anuman Praman, and Shabda Praman. Now, we are talking about Shabda Praman here because it is documented. And Indian history has been the most documented of all the histories of the planet and without any political motives. So you can see Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other histories which are recorded here. It logically doesn't make sense, such a large population, such a large armies fighting with no doctors, with no health facilities. People are fighting with swords and arrows. The hands are getting cut, hands are getting broken, somebody is falling from a chariot, horse is getting injured. Naturally there has to be a system to cure it. So there's a logical reason also to assume, but the Western world has assumed everything like an iron age according to their own situation. Europe was a very poor country before World War One, and I'm saying 1914. Before 1914, also it was a poor country. Despite their looting India and all parts of the world, still they were poor because the wealth was only with the few individuals in their society, and the rest of the people were considered commoners. Especially in the health sector, especially when you said vaccination, what was the technique used by the Indian medicine to vaccinate animals as well as humans?
Yeah, good point. Actually, what Indians did, I think no one else had done in the world. That is, Indians have connected these mechanism, that is to fight with pandemic and all kind of mechanism, with the religious rituals. Why religious rituals? Because if they are connected, related with the visual, with the religious rituals, the common people will follow them properly and religiously. And that's why in Indian, we can call it as Adhyatma or Indian Dharma, we find a Shitala Mata, a goddess. Shitala Mata, Mata is goddess. Shitala Mata is a goddess who fights with such kind of diseases. In a Skanda Puran is very old kind of religious book of India. In Skanda Puran, there is a Shitalashtaka, and this Shitalashtaka is Vandeham Shitalam Devi Rasa Bhastham Digambaram. Vandeham Shitalam Devi Rasa Bhastham Digambaram Marjani Kaleshopetam Surpa Alankruta Mastakam. Meaning is, this goddess of cleanliness, Shitala Mata is a goddess of cleanliness, is riding on donkey and carrying a broom or mop or whisk, whatever we may call it, is a broom, and with the instrument which carries the dust or the dirt, and in one hand with leaves of the neem. For neem, the scientific word is Azadirachta indica. That's what they call it, but generally neem is very well known. It is an antibiotic, and worldwide it is now accepted. It is a great antibiotic. Now it's very interesting how Indians have made this system, and which is a complete decentralized mechanism. What used to happen? Indians have, as I said, that is a complete ecosystem in the name of Shitala Mata Vrat, or the goddess Shitla Mata's Lent or Voli, we can call it. And that's why for that there are Shitala Mata temples in each and every village in the entire country. Even today, we will find that Shitala Mata temples are available almost in every village, every town. In my town also, there is a Shitala Mata temple, is a big temple. This pandemic, if we talk about the vaccination and pandemic, in earlier it is not find much. In the earlier, that is when we talk about the Sushrut or Charak Sanhita and all, they are there, some mention, but not much. However, in the 8th century, there is a book called Madhav Nidan. In Madhav Nidan, very specifically, they it talks about the smallpox. The smallpox pandemic, it defines clearly and properly. But even that, I mean, even before that, there is a Saktiya Grantha in the 10th century. I mean, not before that, just after that, Saktiya Grantham in 10th century. This book talks about the vaccination mechanism to fight this pandemic. This was a very natural process, and that's why the Indians didn't find that we are doing such a great uh, thing or such a great kind of activity by which we are stopping the pandemic and all. No, it was a very routine kind of mechanism. Now, what they used to do, and this was mentioned by Oliver Colt, by Dr. John Holwell, and many others. I will come to that later. Let me tell how that mechanism works, how the system works. Therein, some Brahmins were there in Kashi, that is Banaras, in Bengal, in Maharashtra, part of Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and all. It is their duty that every year, in the month of, we call it as a spring or during that period, there are some disciples of every one Brahmin, around few disciples. They used to go to every village or various villages in a group of 4 5 4 5. What they used to do, they used to go to the village, and it was a regular practice. So they were known to the villagers also, and they used to ask the children who are from year 1 year to the age 3 years, during this period, 3 or 4 years, and they used to ask whether they were they had this smallpox kind of pandemic disease. If they don't, then they what they used to do, then they take the children and little scratch them, just scratching, just by taking a one drop of blood, sort of that, a little scratching. And to that, they used to put their cotton swabs they used to carry with them. And with cotton swab, they used to touch that. And then after some time, that boy is, because he forgets that his pain and all, then he used to go on for his all play and all. But these people used to tell the family, their parents, that look, this boy or girl, this child will have a Shitala Mata, that is goddess Shitala, will enter into his or her body. So you have to pray Shitala Mata for next 8 to 10 days. So whatever he says, just fulfill his wish, and try to cool him, keep him properly. And on the 8th or 9th day, he has to be bathed properly with leaves of neem properly. Now, what used to happen after 3 4 days? This boy or girl, the child used to develop a smallpox. So there are some rashes or pimples used to come on him, and they are little painful. Yes. So for that, they used to put some Shanghabhasma and some other Ayurvedic medicines on that, and and these people who used to come there, they are not very old, relatively young disciples of the Brahman. They used to put that their small needle, the needle is from silver or gold, generally silver needle, and with silver needle, they used to put this on his, what are that pimple used to be there, and from pimple they used to get some pus. This pus they used to get collect on their cotton swab, and they keep that cotton swab properly, and they collect the cotton swab, and those cotton swabs are taken to their guru. That guru is sitting in either Kashi or that is Banaras or Bengal or various places. A lot of gurus were there. And what will happen for the child? Those pimples used to get developed, and afterwards they used to touch those pimples. Pus used to get out from that. After that, the boy was having a proper bath with the leaves of neem and all. So all the antibiotics were applied on the body of the child, and after 8 or 10 days, all these pimples used to get dried down. Boy was fine, and they used to say, "Okay, the Shitala Mata, that goddess Shitala, is now happy. She left his or her body, and now she will not visit again for the entire life." And that exactly used to happen. That because the smallpox, it was a sort of vaccination. It was a smallpox kind of thing. That boy or girl never used to happen. It was never used to happen in their entire lives. Now, what they used to do is that next year, whenever they used to go to the other boys who had this chicken pox, they used to put this, I mean, kind of this getting that pus, and that pus was applied to the other children not. Now, this is nothing but a complete vaccination mechanism. Complete vaccination mechanism. But this vaccination mechanism was attached to or linked to a religious ritual of Shitala Mata Vrat. And that's why people very happily obeyed the entire system. And even that small child, he was also aware that, okay, the Mata had come, that's God had come to me. So some little pain here and there is okay. And that's how this entire vaccination mechanism was going on for years and years and years together in the entire country. Now, who is talking about that? Indian books are talking, that's fine. But when Britishers came to India, they found this kind of mechanism, and they were really surprised about it. They were really surprised. And out of them, R. Colt had written a letter to Oliver Colt on 10th February 1731, wherein he had described the smallpox mechanism. And this letter was quite well circulated in those days. Meanwhile, Dr. John Holwell, he was, in a college of physician, London. He gave a series of lectures in 1767. His topic was traditional vaccination system or mechanism in India. And therein he has mentioned, however, he said that is a variolation. He didn't say it's a vaccination. Vaccination, the word came later. He said it's a variolation. This, and he said that this technique came to England in 1720 only. But initially, the Britishers have opposed this. They thought that this has come from an orthodox country, an illiterate country. So why should we go for it? Let's not go for it. And they were opposing it. So from 1720, and that's whether it's 1731, Mr. Colt was saying, then 1761, John Holwell was talking about it. They were writing about it. This idea came to Dr. Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner tried to get this kind of vaccination. The concept, the idea came to him, and he tried this with the cow udder, because with the cow udder there was some kind of a smallpox he could find, and he tried to get them the pus from the cow udder, and then he made this as a vaccine. He applied it with the same mechanism, sort of. The only difference with this cow udder pus as a vaccine when he started using that, the children didn't get the pimples or rash of that, but otherwise it was quite painful. And because of the dose was not controlled in a controlled environment, there were deaths also reported. It was there in the records that there were a lot of deaths were also there. But still they found that because it was invented by a doctor, because Edward Jenner was a doctor, so it was invented by a doctor, so it is very good, so let's adapt it, let's follow this. And they followed it. The why from the variolation the name came vaccine. Why? Because the vac is basically it's basically for cow. So in some language cow is called as vac, so that's why vaccination. So pus or something is taken from the cow, that's why it's called vaccination. The word vaccination came because of that, and cow word is related for that. Now they were trying to apply it with the Britain. It's okay. Now problem was for India. When they tried to apply into India, the Indian cows didn't have the smallpox disease at all. So what they were supposed to do? They were really helpless. But they wanted their people, their soldiers, their officers, army officers, to have this vaccination properly. So till Baghdad, the cows had this kind of disease, smallpox disease. So what they did from Baghdad to India, they used to carry, because those days the cold storage mechanism was not available. So they used to carry the entire vaccination or this vaccine through the children. Try to understand, through the children, very inhuman way. The children used to get this vaccine, and from next to this thing, the they used to get this vaccine like same way the Indians used to do uh, from his body, and from his body the vaccine was inserted to another child, to another child, to another child, and that's how he used to come to India. And they were trying to apply, or they were applying this kind of vaccine to Indian children in a very inhuman manner. And because they wanted to have more kind of vaccine, so one child they used to given a lot of pressure on his body and try to get more and more pus or more and more water is blood, and that's how they try to have more number of vaccination. This was very human till the time they could find that yes, it could be stored in a bottle, and bottle could be stored in some cold kind of environment, and then it could transport from England to India. Till the time, it was basically that's how the very crude method they send it to India. When they gave it to India, the Britishers took this vaccine. Indians didn't. Why Indians didn't? Because Indians didn't believe in this vaccine. That's number one. Number two is that it was very painful, because though the only advantage, I can say, advantage or only one point which was in favor of that was by taking this vaccine, the children or the child didn't have the rashes or the pimples. That's all. But otherwise, it was very painful. He used to have a lot of fever and so many other symptoms used to be there, and many times the children used to die. And that's why Indians were opposing it, because they were quite habitual with their regular variolation, you call it, or Shitala Mata system, you call it, whatever system you call it. They were very habitual with that, and entire country was having that. There is a data available that during that when Britishers came initially to India, and they started ruling from 1757 after winning the Battle of Plassey, and from Bengal province they started ruling India from 1757. Naturally, in a prison there are a lot of Indian prisoners, and Indian prisoners used to be there. So there were some Britishers who actually did the survey in the prisons, that how many prisoners were got some had that variolation or vaccination, what you may call it. And they found that most of them had this Indian way of variolation, and they were fine. They didn't have, they mentioned that they didn't have smallpox in their life so far. This means that we had a system of our own way. We tried to, we had connected or attached to it to our regular religious rituals, religious systems, and it was a proper cycle, complete ecosystem, and that's how we had the system. Now, when Indians didn't ready to get this, Britishers thought that if we have to give them this vaccination, we have to find that their system, the Shitala Mata system, had to be crushed, had to be stopped. So what they did? They took these Brahmins who had this kind of those cotton swabs and collected all this sort of vaccine, you call it, from everywhere. So they put them behind the bars. All of them were in jail. So some who were left out, they gave this kind of system, or they taught this system to the other people like goldsmith and hairdressers or barbers. Now barbers used to go to every home, and they were quite creditable people. Same as with the goldsmith, people have a lot of faith on the goldsmith and barbers. So goldsmith and barbers started giving such kind of vaccination. In Bengal, a lot of barbers or goldsmiths who used to give such kind of vaccination or variolation, they were called tikadhar or tikagar or tikakar. Today also, we will find a lot of surnames which have tikakar, tikadhar, or tikagar, or like that, because of their ancestors used to have such kind of variolation or vaccination mechanism in India. My point here is that we had a complete, well articulated ecosystem against the pandemic. It was very scientific, and that's how the scientific mechanism was took over by Dr. Edward Jenner. And unfortunately, the entire world is saying that Edward Jenner has invented the vaccination mechanism in the world first time. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Edward Jenner also got this idea, not idea, the entire concept from India only, and that was everyone has accepted this. There was an excellent book on this, and this book I think everyone must read. Those who are interested to understand more on this vaccination or history of vaccination. That book is colonizing body, or colonizing the body, or colonizing body. David Arnold has written this book. David Arnold. He did a lot of research. He actually went through the gazetteers, and all the official correspondence of British officers. And based on that, he wrote the book, Colonizing the Body, and wherein he has clearly mentioned that how best the Indian system was, and the Britishers followed the same concept, but they said that no, this system with Shitala Mata and all such ecosystem was wrong, bad, and they tried to see that it has to be crushed. And at a late this thing, they literally crushed it. And then, though we have the Shitala Mata temples and all, but that system is now gone. So that is how we had a proper system, proper mechanism. But Britishers have really crushed it. Unfortunate part of it. And still, world feels that Edward Jenner has invented the vaccination. This irony. This.
The height of plagiarization by the West is remarkable, and the unfortunate condition is that the Indians look up to the West for guidance when they should be looking inside for more innovation. Yes. Because the colonized mind, that's the right word to use. The reason of one of the effects of colonization is that people lose their identity and individuality. Now, coming to the point of orthopedic, like breaking of bones and other things, what is the history like? Because I feel wherever there are animals, wherever there are human beings, bones have been like, it's not something new that has happened. Even in the past also, people have been getting injured, and naturally the people are going to cure. There has to be a cure for that. So do you think that, even what is the history of Indian medicine on that, healthcare?
Yeah. Let's take another example.
Uh-huh.
You know that another example is plastic surgery. Now, irony is, today all the Bollywood actor and actresses, they go to London or England for the getting the plastic surgery to make little more beautification of their face and body and all. So plastic surgery is in this Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, what we call it, in a cine world, is quite famous. Unfortunate part is, they all didn't know that this plastic surgery was from India. The entire Western world knew this plastic surgery only because of Indians. The plastic surgery was known to Indians long back, thousands of years back. But as I said, that like vaccination, this was such a very simple process that we didn't think that this plastic surgery was such a great kind of science which we are applying on the people. That was the sad part of it, unfortunate part of it. Plastic surgery in India is very old. Sushrut has given a complete procedure how to do the plastic surgery. Complete procedure is there. Now, when Sushrut has given the complete procedure of the plastic surgery, it was very how British have got this. Actually, this went to Western world long back. When Sushrut has written his book, afterwards, 1100 years after Sushrut has wrote his book on Ayurveda or the entire healthcare system, after 1100 years, this was translated in Arabic. The name of the book in Arabic was Kitab-i Susarud. That was the name of the Arabic. And from this Arabic book, it was translated to the European languages, and then how it went to Europe, that too also in Italy. Long back, that was around 1000 years back. In Italy, there was a Branca family, generally doing something in medicine and all. When they read this, they tried to do some operations of this plastic surgery. This Branca family, or this people from Branca, they did that, but church was opposing it. Church said, no, you shouldn't do it. It's not as per the God's discipline, so we shouldn't do it. They stopped there, and that it just went on there itself. But plastic surgery was a regular phenomena in India. So what happened? During the 18th century, the second part of the 18th century, these Britishers were fighting with Tipu Sultan and earlier his father. During that war, they found that there was a Maratha soldier called Kawasji. This Kawasji was fighting against Tipu's force, Tipu's army, on behalf of Britishers. Somehow, this Kawasji and his four Telugu-speaking people who were supporting him, they all were caught by this Tipu's army, Tipu's soldiers. And to give some kind of a some kind of a this thing, so what they did, these soldiers have cut their nose as the punishment, because they were fighting on behalf of the Britishers. So Tipu's soldier cut their nose. Kawasji's nose was cut, and Kawasji came to this Britishers back. After some days, this one Britishers from Pune, he found that there was a person who was having again similar kind of his nose was cut and all. That was earlier, but now he has his nose little, some stretches are there, but he has his nose and all properly. So he asked him, how come that you have this your nose again? He said, no, we had some doctor, they called it, in a local doctor was called a Vaidya. So we had some Vaidya and he did that. He was very curious. The Britisher was very curious. He said that, can I can I have a decision with him? He said, fine. Then this British officer requested this Vaidya that, can you operate on this Kawasji? Because he is my soldier and his nose was cut by the Tipu's soldiers. So can you operate him? He said, fine. And during 1794, the operation was held near Pune. And there were two doctors who were present during that operation. One is Dr. Thomas Crusoe and other is Dr. James Findlay. These two doctors were there who were present during that operation performed by that Vaidya, that local physician who performed that plastic surgery operation. This plastic surgery name was given by these people, Britishers. And this story was written because this Thomas Crusoe and James Findlay, both doctors, were really excited that, oh, this could also happen. So they wrote the story of this in a Madras Gazette. This Madras Gazette generally goes to UK, Britain, and this was somehow picked up, that story was somehow picked up by that time, the then popular magazine called Gentleman. Gentleman was a popular magazine among the high class circle in Britain. And the Gentleman carried this story of this plastic surgery, that how this local physician did that and all. And because both were doctors and they wrote the original story, so they explained in a more medical terms. This story was read by Dr. J.C. Corpse in Britain. And this J.C. Corpse, by reading this story, he thought, I should also try on some patients. So he did whose there is deformation in their lips or ear and all. He tried to do some operations, Dr. J.C. Corpse. And Dr. J.C. Corpse, Edwin Smith Papyrus and all, they did some operation, and that's how it was successful. And that's how what was written by Sushrut around 2500, 3000 years back, that was practically, implemented by these British doctors, and they were damn excited, damn happy. And they said, okay, this is how this plastic surgery have to be performed. Unfortunately, they didn't know in India is a regular practice. In northern part of India, in Uttarakhand we call it, there is a district called Kangra. Kangra is a town, Kangra is a district. You know how this Kangra name is came? Kangra is because of Kan Gadha. Kan means ear. Gadha means to make it properly, make over. So make over the ear. That's basically meaning of Kangra, Kan Gadha. And in Kangra, we will find a lot of plastic surgeons in today's language, lot of plastic surgeons who did lot of such surgeries to Indian women, because what used to happen, Indian women used to wear the very heavy rings in their ear. It's a fashion. The women used to like it, to wear it. And because of the weight, the ear used to have some deformation, something, some problem here. And these people have to make it properly, doing some plastic surgery and all. There is Dr. S.C. Almast. He did a lot of research on this Kangra pattern, and he could meet such local physicians called Vaidya who performed this plastic surgery, who could tell that their ancestors up to the 14th century and how it came in their family, about how they do it and and all. If we talk about the British, then Alexander Cunningham did a lot of research work on this plastic surgery in India, probably particularly in Kangra pattern, and he also wrote in a similar manner. There are so many such examples wherein we can quote always that how Indians were, in having the excel all the mechanism that even after doing this surgery, it's very difficult sometimes that okay, people used to feel that this is the original part of the body, like ear or nose or lips and all. They felt that it is the original part. This was the excel. This was the kind of precision by which they used to do the surgery. Unfortunate part is today all the Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood actors go to Britain and doing the plastic surgery in Britain because they feel that the British doctors are the best in the world in plastic surgery. That's very unfortunate part in India, because unfortunately this is not known to us itself, that we had this such a great knowledge system which was carried by our ancestors. Unfortunately, Britishers tried to crush all these systems. That is unfortunate part of it.
So, plastic surgery is a very profitable industry now in the US, very profitable. And I think the countries like Mexico and other countries are making a lot of money on plastic surgery. But it was very refreshing to know it started from India. Again, the origin is connecting to India. Again, the other aspect is vaccination and the operations, cesarean operations, because Shushruta Samhita very clearly mentions how the limbs were reconnected for soldiers who were injured, and this is very common, and including the plastic. We put plaster of Paris was also kind of used in the past
Yes.
also. So what is your research on that?
Let me quote a very small and simple example. On this. There is an Aitareya Upanishad. We all are aware that there are a lot of Upanishads are there. Around more than 100 Upanishads, 108 Upanishads are there, which talks about various walks of life and all. One of them is Aitareya Upanishad. In this Atreya or Aitareya Upanishad, which is a part of Rig Veda, it says that in the first Adhyaya 114, that is first Adhyaya, first this thing, fourth shloka, it describes that how during the pregnancy, how a child is, gets developed in a mother's this thing during the pregnancy. And they've clearly defined, they have clearly explained in the Aitareya Upanishad, it was clearly explained that which parts of the child used to get developed first, like his face, his eyes, and this and that, and then hand and all, very sequentially, that how the bodies used to get developed in the uh, during when he was in his mother. This was very nicely built. Now, with the modern science, with all the apparatus, with all the equipments, with all the sonography, the latest, say 4D, 5D, 6D, I don't know, this kind of sonography equipments are available. With the equipments today, world knows that how a child is developed during the pregnancy. Now, it is exactly same as Aitareya Upanishad, first Adhyaya, first stanza, shloka, fourth. Same thing. How did they know? This means that our ancestors, they had a complete knowledge system, and that knowledge system was perfect. It was not only trial and error. They knew that how it was happening. They must have done lot of probably trial and error earlier. But whatever they have written, whatever they have mentioned, it is perfect. So they knew about the human body very well. And that's how they used to teach the world. The worldwide students used to come to Takshashila and then Nalanda. So whether it was Takshashila or it's Nalanda or many other universities, and prior to that, the Ayurveda was taught in the Gurukuls. A lot of thousands of Gurukuls were there in almost in each and every village. As I said that every time, the education and healthcare system was decentralized in India. And that was one of the beauty of Indian healthcare system. And they all were, I mean, all such things were taught. So basic primary Ayurvedic information, knowledge was taught in the Gurukul. And that higher education, like such kind of things, like more in the Sushruth, like the surgery and various other things were taught in the universities. So it was very well structured. And that's how I say that's the beauty of Indian healthcare system, which was not only considering a thing of human being, but also the animals all together as a entire nature. And unfortunately, we have forgotten the whole thing. That's unfortunate part of it.
I think this show will at least be a beginning. At least so people can start looking into more research. You're given the names and everything. People can check, and they can start building their faith in their own identity. Sanatan Dharma is science. It's not just a religious framework or just people connect only to puja part, which is not the right thing. It's the whole thing is a science, like you said correctly. Every single mudra is a point in the direction. So it's a complete science. So for the West had to design science separately from the Sanatan Dharma, because the science, their scriptures don't talk anything like that. In fact, that is banned. Most of their scientists were thrown out or killed or burnt because they challenged what was written in their book. So thank you so much, Prashant Polji. I think we need to do one more show on this with getting more details on this. So because you have done a lot more research than what we spoke today. So thank you all viewers for watching, and thank you for coming on the show, and do let us know your feedback. Namaste.
Dhanyawad.